And a great golfing morning to you. Welcome to the show. The Back Nine Boys Golf Show is brought to you by Bridgestone Golf. Play the ball that fits you, by Sea Palms Resort, featuring the Miracle, an incredible practice facility built for the members, and by Mizuno Golf, reach beyond. On the show, we're going to talk with Jeff Crawford, who will reach beyond and tell us about Mizuno Golf, their new clubs, their putters, and their team of PGA pros who have their clubs and use them all the time. Then we'll talk with John Farrell, the new director of sports for Sea Pines, which includes Harbor Town, where the RBC Heritage is being played this weekend. And then finally, Steve Wilmot, tournament director for the RBC Heritage, will tell us about their incredible field and how the tournament has helped the communities around Hilton Head for years and how much money they've raised over those years. But first up, Jeff Crawford of Mizuno. Good morning, Jeff, and welcome to the Back Nine Boys Golf Show.
Good morning, Rich. Thanks for having me.
Good. Mizuno, you guys have really expanded your brand. You've got some new clubs out. Tell us about them.
Yeah, so 2020 was a down year for a lot of reasons, but for golf it was huge, and for Mizuno it was huge. And we introduced our Aimcraft Putters to the to the American market here, which we haven't had putters in quite some time. It's been since 2009 was the last time we had putters in the U.S. market. So it was a really nice surprise with the first three models. And then this past February, we introduced the 4, 5, and 6 models, which were a little more modern shapes. The first three were very traditional shapes. And so we wanted to introduce a little bit more of a modern look. And so far, the reception's been phenomenal.
And the players that you've got, Grayson and Keith and Luke, how have they felt about the new clubs, the drivers and the putters? Yeah,
well, the putters has been a little bit of a slow start to get in the hands of a tour player, but the other clubs, it's been great. I mean, Keith and Luke are playing the MP20s. Grayson Sig went right into the JPX 921 tour that we launched back in the fall, and along with some of our other guys, Ring Gibson, Bo Hogue, and then we got Eric Barnes and Dan McCarthy as well on the Korn Ferry Tour. And they're all loving the new product. I was actually down in Savannah 3 weeks ago for the Club Car Championship, and got to see Eric Barnes and Dan McCarthy, and work with our tour guys and really just kind of see what goes on inside the ropes for those guys, and see all the testing process, what's all involved with that. And what's amazing is how many balls those guys hit. Like when you give them a driver or multiple drivers to test out, I mean, they're like machines. And I mean, we did a driver test yesterday here in Atlanta for, some competitor models versus ours. And I mean, after like 40 swings, driver swings, I was getting worn out, but those guys just go nonstop.
but they do it all the time. You and I do it as much as they do. So when you go to a tournament like you did at Savannah or the other tournaments that you go to, what do you do in those 2 or 3 days that you're there?
Well, what I do personally is, I get a lot of, video content and photos of our guys just to use for social media throughout the year. Just, whenever one of those guys has a good round, it's always good to have a couple of different photo options of them to throw up and let everyone know that they did something really well, or they're leading the tournament, or whatever it may be. And then for the Korn Ferry event, I did a lot of videoing of the guys, just getting the conversation between like player and tour manager, and just to give some people some insights on what goes on in those conversations.
Well, tell us about the difference on the new irons between the MP20 and the 921s.
Yeah, so MP20, we came out with in a year and a half ago, and then the JPX 921s we came out with last fall. And sort of the way we break those down is the MP line has always been your more traditional, classic, very streamlined clubs, and the JPX series has always been more of kind of a technology series. But within that, we've expanded. I mean, originally it started with just hot metal, and at the time, what was called the Pro, and those were kind of geared towards the mid-high handicappers. And then 4 years ago, we introduced the tour model to the JPX series, and that really sort of accelerated the JPX series to a whole new audience. It took on a lot of tour usage. A lot of guys A lot of non-contract guys really took to that model once Nike exited the equipment industry. A lot of their prominent players put that 900 tour in play and had a lot of good success with it, and then sort of carried on to the 919 tour now with the 921 tour.
And tell us about the drivers. You've got 3 different types of drivers that people are playing, and you guys are relatively new in the driver business.
Yeah, well, I won't say relatively new. We're kind of sneaking our way back into the mix a little bit. We definitely had success many years ago, but then as far as like tour success, we had a little bit of a drought, we'll call it. But 3 years ago, the ST190 kind of put us back on the map a little bit. We got it in Keith's hands, and then he won at the Honda Classic with it, which was big. And then ST200 last year was a really nice product. Sort of got the launch of it sort of got derailed with everything going on. But this year the STZ and STX models, they're doing really well. Keith put it in play. In fact, the first week that he had it in the bag out in Hawaii at the Sony, he led the field in driving distance. So a couple of other guys got it. We still have the 200G, which is the movable weight version. That's what Luke likes to play, and Rain Gibson. There'll be a G version of that, for an updated version of that coming a little bit later this year. But right now we just have the STZ and STX. STZ is a little more neutral, slightly fade bias, and the X is a little more heel weighted. It's a better club for someone who likes to turn the ball over or not see it go right.
Well, I know that Luke has been with y'all for a long time, and he's had a lot of success. But in the stage that he's in right now, as a lot of golfers are, I mean, you could put many golfers in this stage, and that like 42 to 48 years old, it gets harder and harder for them to compete with these young bucks that are coming up, and they're just they're just not afraid of anything. I mean, or anybody.
That's true. Luke's always been such a tremendous ball striker, but and his short game is arguably one of the best. But a knock on him has always been he hasn't been super long, and in today's game, not being super long is definitely a disadvantage. And there's still some courses out there that really suit his game. This week at RBC was one of them. Unfortunately, he didn't play his best, but he's had 7 career second place finishes there. So that's a course that suits him well. So there's still some spots that, where he's going to know that he can earn his money. But overall, he's still such a great ambassador for us and for golf. I mean, he's going to be the assistant Ryder Cup captain for the European team coming up. He's a tremendous guy. I don't know if you ever had a chance to meet him, but super nice guy, English gentleman.
Yeah. They're always courteous and very kind. So no PGA show last year. Coming up this year, how are you guys going to come up with a game plan for that? When will you start planning on that?
Well, we've already had talks with our reps with the PGA show, with Reed Exhibitions, and as of now, they're planning on being 100% in person come next January, which is tough for us because we have to make these decisions way ahead of time if we're going to go, because it's a lot of work to get our booth redone.
Sure.
Move the budget around so we make sure we got what we need to go there, and we need to make that decision way in advance. And at that time, it may or may not be a time where the show is ready to say yes, everyone's coming, or no, we're going to go virtual again. And so as a manufacturer, as a brand, we're going to have to draw a hard line in the sand. Probably, I don't know, I'd say at least late September to early October at the latest.
Right. And it gets hard at that point when you've not had a show and you were able to do some other things budget-wise and also time-wise with all your vendors and your players. And then it comes to a point of, do you go back to the show? Is it more of a PR thing? Or would we be better off doing what we did last year with no show?
Yeah, that's a great question. A great conversation to have, because we had been to the show the last 2 years.
Right.
And prior to that, we hadn't been on the show floor in, I think it was like 16 years. So, we really felt like the show was beneficial, and we made a good splash there. On on the other hand, the virtual version of it last year didn't cost nearly as much, and
yeah, right.
so it definitely allowed us to free up some budget and do some things that that Mizuno hasn't done in the past, that maybe some other brands do all the time as regularly. But for us, it was totally different. Like we got some ads on Golf Channel, which I don't know if you've had a chance to see them yet, but
I
they've
have.
been running since January, and we'll go through June, and
Yeah.
It's been running pretty nice. So even for me, I mean, I assisted in getting the commercial on there, but still, every time I see it, I'm like, wow, there it is. Like, we're on TV. Like, we made it.
Right. But it's really cool.
For many years, we just never had that.
Right. But it's really cool that you haven't had that, and now you do. And to see it, it may be hard to give up.
It is. Yeah. I mean, it feels like it's something that's always going to have to be in the mix going forward now.
Yeah. Yeah. Which take parts of the budget that could go to the PGA show. But I got to tell you, I've had the clubs. I love them. I probably lowered my handicap about 1 or 2 points, which is good. I just really, really like the clubs. I got to tell you.
Awesome. Yeah. We never get tired of hearing that. I run the social media for Mizuno Golf North America. So, it's fun reading all the good comments. Unfortunately, there's been a lot of, comments lately about lead times on production, but that just comes with the territory. I mean, it's amazing how busy we are, how busy the golf industry is. I mean, it's unbelievable. I mean, no one's ever seen anything like it right now.
Yeah, and shipping is what we're just talking about. Shipping is really an issue at this point, especially when you're coming from overseas.
It is. I mean, we got really lucky for the most part of the whole pandemic, when the golf industry really started kicking up. Is
right.
Component wise, we had everything for a long time. We just couldn't build it fast enough. I mean, we were just, our manufacturing crews just killing it up there. I mean, they're just nonstop. They're working. They usually work 10-hour days, Monday through Thursday, but they've been working Fridays. They've been working pretty much every other Saturday, just trying to catch up as best they can. I mean,
right.
But we have run into some component issues now with a couple of heads and then some like grips and shafts too, from other vendors that are running into those issues. So, and I know other manufacturers have had the same problems too, but it's unfortunate. We definitely wish we didn't have it, but that's just how we just have to work with that now.
Yeah, because that's kind of the new normal, maybe. So
well,
tell
new normal for now. Hopefully not new normal going forward.
Isn't that the truth? Yeah, hope so too. Tell us about the golf balls.
Yeah, so the golf balls have been, a nice success. We introduced the RB Tour and RB Tour X 2 years ago at the PGA show, and they were really well received at first. The initial, the first time, we did a really good job of keeping it a secret from people. Our accounts knew, because obviously our reps were pre-selling them, but no consumers knew that we were coming out with a ball. And the first time they saw them was on the range at the demo day at the PGA show that year. So that was really cool. And then last year we introduced a little bit lower price point in the RB 566 and 566V. Those have been really well received. We've one's kind of a mid-tier price and one's a little bit lower price, and those two balls are geared more towards the larger percentage of golfers, and they're a little bit more durable. The cover's not as soft as the tour level golf ball. It doesn't spin quite as much, but it's still a very soft feeling golf ball, and has a really cool dimple technology story that allows it to maintain its flight a little bit better. A lot of the technology on that style ball has been geared around the core and like how soft you want to make it. That's what a lot of other brands do, but we really looked at the cover and what can the cover do to elevate the performance of it.
Well, Jeff, we can't thank you enough for your time. Thank you, and thanks to Mizuno. Appreciate it.
Thank you, Rich.
All right, Jeff from Mizuno, right here on the Back Nine Boys Golf Show. And coming up next, live from the RBC, is John Farrell, the new director of sports at Sea Pines Resort. We'll be right back.
Hi, everybody. This is Jim Kelly. You're listening to the Back Nine Boys Golf Show. Stay tuned.
And welcome back. I'm Rich Stiles. We're going to go to Sea Pines Resort in just a few minutes. That's where the Harbortown Classic is being played. And unbelievably, Stuart Sink has shot 8 under on both days. Stuart, not known as a long ball hitter, but very good with his irons, obviously very good with his putter and chipping. He is 16 under par after 2 rounds going into the weekend. And some of the locals that did make the cut, defending champ, good friend, Webb Simpson, Matt Kuchar, Brian Harmon, Dustin Johnson, Michael Thompson has also made it. So some of the local guys are making it up there. It's a tight golf course, so you really have to kind of be careful where you go up there. Driving is key. That kind of sets you up for your second shot. It's a target golf course, very narrow, lined with the pine trees. And so we've just got to, kind of get ready and go there. And so we're going to get up with John in just a few minutes. And right now we're going to continue with a former interview we did on the Back Nine Boys Golf Show.
Good morning, Rich. Thank you for having me.
Oh, it's a pleasure. I do want to go back. 2019, you were here at the RSM playing Seaside Plantation, and you had a tremendous stretch there where you had 5 consecutive birdies, and you ended up placing top 4. Tell us about that.
Well, it was a week where that was the last event of the fall, obviously, and I was playing pretty well, but I wasn't scoring well throughout the whole fall. And going into that week, the swing felt good, game felt good, and I've been putting well, and all of a sudden on those greens, I love those greens. I love Bermuda greens. I grew up in Miami, Florida, where Bermuda is king, and I think the greens had just been redone. There wasn't any kind of imperfection on them, and I had a great week of putting, and it felt like anything inside 10 feet was like putting in the ocean. So that's always nice. And I think that's kind of one of the big differences between finishing 4th and finishing 50th. It's a couple shots sometimes, or just one good break at the right time can change a week.
Yeah. How did the stoppage, Ryan, affect you last year during this pandemic that we were in? How did that affect your game? And did you have a chance to work on a lot of things that you wanted to?
Well, I'm in an interesting season of life. It's been almost 2 years. If you go back to the last event of 2019, I had an injury to my wrist, and I was out for about 6 months, and I was set to come back, I think, hopefully like the week after the Players of 2019 and or 2020. Sorry. And as we all know, golf stops exactly that week. So I was out for 6 months with an injury. All of a sudden that 6 months turned to 9 months with quarantine and COVID hitting. And I'm in the 126 to 150 category. We were in the process of moving to Florida, from Florida to North Carolina. I had a baby boy June of last year.
Congratulations.
Our first kid. Thank you. And so it's been a crazy season of life. So all of it's a little bit of a blur. What was nice during quarantine is that I had a garage gym, and so I was able to kind of do my own work in the gym there at home. Weather was perfect during quarantine, being in Ponte Vedra Beach in April and May and June. And then I had TPC Sawgrass, which always remained open after the Players and everyone kind of got out of town. And so I was able to do a lot of good work. I just haven't been able to get a ton of playing opportunities being in that 126 to 150 category. And so that's why I'm out in Phoenix right now. I'm going to play the Corn Ferry this next week in Vegas, and try to get some reps and get going. And when my number gets called, take advantage of the opportunity.
So based on where you are in the 126 to 150, what does this season look like? You're playing in Vegas coming up. What after that, or do you kind of have to wait and see?
Yeah, I have to wait and see. I mean, even the week after Vegas, the Zurich, the team event, I have a couple of possible teammates. We're waiting to see where that line falls. If not, I'll play the Corn Ferry in Huntsville, Alabama the week after. I'll take the week off of Zurich.
Okay.
I'm going to be on the line of getting into like things like Tampa and Charlotte. And so we'll just kind of, you just kind of feel like you're waiting around to see.
Yeah. It's hard to schedule when you're having to, kind of wait and see if your number gets called up. So you played at Duke. I used to live in North Carolina, used to live in Cary. So I was there when you were going to school. What's the biggest difference between playing competitive college golf and now playing on the tour?
There's two things. One, from an absolute golf standpoint, is hole locations. I mean, even when you get on the PGA Tour, you look at the pin sheet, and there are a lot of threes on it. You didn't see that in college. You saw a lot of 5s and 6s in college.
Okay.
So pins were in the center of the green. Sometimes, my first year, I feel like I'm like, is that pin on the green? Like, I don't. Where am I supposed to hit this? So it feels like you have to be a lot more accurate with your irons. Secondly, it's from a scheduling standpoint, college golf. If you have a blustery 3 weeks in a row of playing 3 tournaments in a row,
right,
it still is only about a 3 to 4 day trip in which you get 2 or 3 days back at home at college to kind of reset and go. If you play 3-4 weeks in a row on the tour, you're gone for 3 or 4 weeks.
Right.
And that travel is just a lot different. And it takes a little bit of getting used to. It took me a little while to get used to it. I mean, I started doing a bunch of like Nationwide Tour, Web.com Tour, now Corn Ferry Tour, Monday qualifiers, kind of just driving around, putting 50,000 miles on my car throughout the year kind of thing. So it's a different travel, that's for sure.
That is Ryan Blum, a former Duke player, telling us about the difference between playing in college and playing on tour. Coming up, Steve Wilmot, tournament director of the RBC Heritage, live from Harbortown. Right after we tell you about what's live and why you need to go to CJ's tonight starting at 4:30. They now have dining in on a limited basis, but they always have pickup, and you can just do that by going on their website, cjsitalianrestaurant.com. Check out their full menu. They're family-owned. Most of their food is just incredible because it is made from scratch every morning, including their pizza doughs, their bread, sauces, dressings, toppings, meatballs, lasagna, and that list just goes on and on. Produce delivered fresh and prepared daily. The appetizers and salads, the sandwiches are great, pastas are great, some specialty dinners, but they are known for their deep dish, and it is incredible. Also, their thin crust, and they have a cauliflower crust as well in a medium size. So check out everything you need to know about what you want to do tonight for dinner or any night. It's easy. Pick up right at CJ's. So it's cjsitalianrestaurant.com.
Hal Sutton here. You're listening to the Back Nine Boys here today.
And we are here today with Steve Wilmot, the tournament director of the RBC Heritage. Steve, good morning, and busy morning for you, but thanks for taking the time to be with us.
Well, good morning, and I apologize. It's a little technical difficulty on my end, but then again, I didn't think we'd be teeing off at 8:45 today when we scheduled this call, so we're right in the middle of getting everybody started. But how you doing this morning, Rich?
I'm doing great, and I'm just thankful that you're taking the time to be with us. Another unbelievable field. Does this surprise you every year of the kinds of quality and rated players that come in every year?
I'm extremely surprised this year in a way. I mean, we plan on tournaments 13 months out of the year, if not 53 weeks out of the year, not knowing who's going to be in our field. So that's one thing, we try to sell a wonderful tournament. We try to raise as much money as we can for charity, and we never know who's going to be here. And knowing the last year with the extraordinary times for everybody, and knowing that we had an incredible field in June, which didn't happen in April, but June, and knowing there were 6 majors in the last year, you didn't know how these guys' schedules would play out. But we've been extremely pleased. It's the competition has been tremendous, and we have an incredible leaderboard, and that's a win-win-win for everybody.
Yeah, I got a guy by the name of Stuart Sink who's already won, and he shot 8 under both days. I mean, he's got a 5-shot lead as of this morning. I didn't expect that from Stuart.
I don't think anybody really did, but then obviously he's in his zone. He's won here twice. The one thing about our golf course, again, it's a shot maker's golf course. You don't have to hit it on a country mile, and it's a matter of shaping your shots. And Stuart's in that zone, and hopefully we'll see how it goes. But we've got a lot of young kids up there competing against them, probably half his age, and but we're looking forward to a great weekend.
Well, that's an incredible thing to Stuart, because it helps guys like you and I who are a little bit older than some of these guys that are playing behind him.
No, yeah, exactly. But he's become a great friend of the tournaments over the years.
Oh, yeah.
If I'm not mistaken, I think it's his 21st tournament he's played here, and his family grew up here. And when I say grew up here, they certainly came to the tournaments and all too. So it's neat to see the relationship that he has in the family, and his son on the bag with him.
Well, Harbortown seems to be one of the only golf courses that I've seen and tournaments that you've had really a lot of multiple winners that come back. They've had a lot of success, which means they like the the golf course. They like the layout. They like the way it plays. I mean, you've got Stewart with a couple of wins. Davis did not make the cut, but he won 5 times. I mean, you've just had some incredible guys who've had a chance to build on that at Harbortown.
Absolutely. Davis has, like you mentioned, 5 times. Boo Weekly won here a couple times. He's hoping to get back at it. He's a little down and out health-wise, but Hale Irwin a few years back, and certainly here recently with Stuart Sink, and Jim Furyk is 1 too, and it's anybody's game today. And you look up there in the leaderboard, and I have to really look at a young kid, Corey Connors, and that you talk about scripting a story there too with him on the leaderboard. He's a Canadian, and he's one of RBC's ambassadors, so there's a pretty incredible storyline there too. But Cameron Smith and Colin Morikawa, I mean, we're Billy Horschel. It's going to be a great weekend.
And the biggest thing, besides your spectacular field, is having fans back. I mean, that's got to please you, and obviously the community and the fans to be able to come back.
Absolutely. But, please understand, going into the tournament, planning for the tournament, the bad news is, we went through what we did in June with no spectators, but the good news is we did experience that, because it's prepared us for what we have this year. I mean, there's no playbook, no script, but, our number one concern was conducting the safest and healthiest tournament that we possibly could, following proper protocols and all. And then by having some spectators and our partners back, gave us an opportunity turn up our charitable programs a little bit. We had turned them off for the year, and that's why we do what we do, and certainly the PGA Tour and the mission of statement for both of us is giving back. So we're conducting a safe tournament this week with everybody in mind, and we have the charities, and then the third thing is the competition. So we'll again here I'll use the analogy I said before: win-win-win for everybody. So.
And how much pressure does it put on you and the foundation, the tournament committee, to turn around from June to April?
Well, I think people don't. The way we kind of look at it is people don't realize that we had a whole 13-month planning to go into April of last year that didn't happen, and then after April was canceled, we had to address the build out. All of our sponsors, partners, tickets, and things we had to talk about deferment and donations and refunds. And then all of a sudden, a couple weeks later, we plan for an event that we have no idea what it's going to look like.
Right.
Then without spectators, but certainly testing and all the protocols. And then all of a sudden, 9 months later, we turn around to an event that we knew was coming, but we didn't know to what degree. And some of the tough decisions the foundation had to make, and if you're up here this week, is the normal build out, and you'll see on TV is skyboxes and bleachers on 18 and 17 and 16 and 15 and 14 and all. We didn't have a build out this year because we built out last year, and the foundation just wasn't in the financial situation to take a chance of building out like we've done in the past, knowing that social distancing and 50% capacity, and so we kind of we're lean and mean, but we're going to have a great event this week. We've had a great event this week, and not that we're all ready, but we are already looking forward to 22 and hopefully get back to some real normalcy.
And Angela put out a release saying that of the tickets that were available, you're sold out, which again is a credit to your group and the foundation and the golf tournament.
Well, thank you. I mean, I certainly, and you mentioned Angela, she's the best in the business, and our marketing communications director. We have an incredible staff, incredible community support, and as well. But that's just it with the ticket sales. It was a community support. I mean, we didn't have a lot of things this year, and we just asked the community to buy tickets. I mean, just support us. And yes, the ticket price was a little different this year. We didn't sell weekly badges because we weren't open Monday and Tuesday like we traditionally have. So we did change some things up, but we were just help us help you. If we can get through and have a good year, we'll get everything back on track for sure, and be able to give back the millions that the foundation has been able to do over the years.
Well, let's talk about that. Let's talk about some of the charities that you help, because what you do is incredible around your community. And just tell us about some of those charities that are benefiting from having the tournament.
Well, there's so many worthy charities that, we wish, you sit here and talk about we give $2 million a year to charity. We wish it was $4 million, but, the one thing we're certainly proud of is from their scholarships too. And, we have 55 students each year that are enrolled in schools. Our scholarships that we award each year are 4-year scholarships. So when you look at the 15 or so that we have each year, and so that's where we get that. So we're proud of that. And there's so many deserving students as well that go through the application process. But for those in needs, there's so many different causes that we certainly support here. And last year we did some things for first responders due to the fact of where we were with the extraordinary times with COVID and all. But and we're anxious to get some things back open and full steam. We have our Birdies for Charity program that's open now, and we also have our matching grant program or matching program that we have as well. So we're that's what's important to us, and and this week is going to help us tell that story and get those stories going again.
And you've got some incredible partners that you've had for a long time. I mean, RBC, Boeing. I mean, just helps you guys a lot. and it just does great things for their brand.
Absolutely. And it's, I've been around here a few years, and when we base a lot of things on relationships, because you do create these relationships. But we are celebrating the 10th year of our title sponsor, RBC, as well as our presenting sponsor in Boeing, both incredible partners. And then you take a step further, we're celebrating our 53rd year. But this is the 53rd year with Coca-Cola and Anheuser-Busch. And
wow,
there's some pretty long relationships. So obviously it works for them, it works for us. But, if we didn't have these relationships, then we wouldn't be doing our job and making sure it works for them. And they believe in us, in the fact of, what we do and how we're giving back in our charitable efforts. And they want to be a part of that as well.
Tell us about the opening ceremony. I mean, I was talking to Weber last year, and, it was incredible. And some people may not know about the opening ceremony.
Well, this year is more of an opening program. Traditionally we have an opening ceremony with a parade with a defending champion. Starts in the Harbortown area, and then we walk around to the 18th, and we have a program there, or a ceremony itself, and then we have the defending champion presented with his trophy and some things, and then all of a sudden he fires the cannon shot, or hits the cannon shot. And, it's unique on the PGA Tour for sure. This year, because of social distancing, we weren't able to have the parade. We weren't able to have a ceremony. But on Tuesday, when we were closed, we did have a little program with our tournament chairman this year, Dwayne Parrish, who's head of Parks, Recreation, and Tourism for the state, and then Simon Fraser, our chairman of the Heritage Classic Foundation, had a program with Webb Simpson, and it was a great photo op and a great tradition that we tried to continue, and we did continue it.
And you've had a lot of great champions, but Weber is one of my favorites. I just think he's such a great guy, and his caddy, Paul Tesori, is just incredible. What a team they have.
Well, he's one of those good guys.
Yeah.
He's been great as a past champion, or defending champion, I should say. He's an RBC ambassador. RBC thinks the world of him. They wouldn't have created that ambassador program with him.
Right.
But he and Paul, he's good for the game, and there needs to be more Webb Simpsons out there in the world. That's for sure.
All right, Steve, we got to take a short break. I hope you can stick with us, but we'll be right back with Steve Wilmot, Tournament Director of the RBC Heritage, on the Back Nine Boys Golf Show.
Brad Klein here, veteran golf writer, author of Discovering Donald Ross, and thrilled to be on Back Nine Boys Golf Show again.
And welcome back. I'm Rich Stiles. We're live with Steve Wilmot, the tournament director at the RBC Heritage. And Steve, you've talked a lot about the foundation, about the charities. Over the years, I know you all keep track. How much have you all raised for charities in the many years that the tournament's been going on?
Well, thank you for asking that. It's in excess of $45 million. And
wow.
The last few years, even last year, we were able to award some charitable dollars. But the last 6-8 years, we've been close to $2 million a year.
Wow.
We did have to stop, as I mentioned, the program, but they're open back up, and we hope to get back to those numbers sooner than later. But I mean, that's why we do and what we do, and again, a part of that too is, and sometimes they're overlooked, but they never should be overlooked. There are our volunteers that help that effort, because
right.
If we had to. If we turn around and paid a volunteer $1 an hour for their time and effort, we give nothing to charity. And these volunteers are all volunteers, certainly on the PGA Tour, but certainly the ones in our community too are passionate about it. It's just not about a week of support. They plan, they meet, they talk about it in their cocktail circuits and all too. But it's. We have an incredible group of volunteers, and whether it's tough challenges with us with the COVID, with the restrictions and masking up, we repurposed our hospitality ambassadors this year to be a safety committee. So we have them, not being police per se, but letting people know about masking up and social distancing and the rules and regs. And I've been extremely proud of our volunteers for certainly following the guidelines, but their efforts this year have been even, over and beyond the top because of these challenges and the new protocols.
And in the recent weeks, the PGA Tour has changed their protocols for the PGA Tour players as far as testing and making sure that they were okay coming into the tournament.
Well, there's some, they're still tested
right.
Professionals, and I can kind of go through this which normally does not happen, and certainly, Todd Thompson and and Mark and everybody down there, what they've got to go through or what they went through in the fall with the RSM Classic. But so we test the players and test the caddies, and there are others that are within the bubble, and then they need to be tested at the next event. But there are also some players that are going overseas from here that need to be tested on the back end too for safety precautions. We also this year we tested our amateur, because we had pro-ams. We tested our amateur caddies and our amateurs together. It's interesting that we made some arrangements for some players this week to get their second vaccine too, because it's tough for those guys to schedule vaccines when they're traveling from week to week and things. So that was kind of unique and normally would not be the case. A lot of people were banking, a lot of the players in the tour were thinking about how this Johnson & Johnson could work with the one shots, and that changed a little bit this week. But so it's interesting, all the things that we go through with the PPEs and the hand sanitizer and the sanitizing the buses once you get off the transportation. It's a unique year. It's just, we want to do the right things, and as we all do, and want to make sure everybody gets healthy, we get healthy and get back on track.
Steve, over the years, do you go to other tournaments, between now and next April when you have your next tournament? Do you go to other tournaments and kind of see what they're doing? Or over the years, have you kind of seen everything that can happen?
Well, the thing about it is, this past year where I had anticipated traveling a lot, I haven't, because of the COVID and all. But the one thing that came out of this the last year, really since the players of last year, is I feel very proud of the tournaments on the PGA Tour that the communication has gotten so much better between us as tournament directors, but the guys that are really doing the work, our ops people, our sales people, and all. There's been so much communication and best practices of things to do better. Under this situation, Steve Worthy next week in Zurich is going to do something that he's learned from us this week, and Tracy in Valspar, and then Gary in Wells Fargo. And that's how it's been here recently. And we as tournament directors, we have bigger calls. We have TAC Tournament Advisory Council calls, but then the second quarter events, we've been on calls just sharing what's good, what's working, what's not working. Something in San Diego might be great for them, but not for us. But if we also take an idea from the Crown or the Colonial, it's not going to impact their event. It's going to help us. So there's a lot of best practices going back and forth in conversations, which is a good thing. And again, I don't mean to go on here, but the PGA Tour too. I mean, they're learning each and every week, and they want to make sure everyone's doing the right thing. So there is a lot of communication going back and forth.
All right, I'm going to hit you with a zinger to end we've got about 45 seconds. Out of all the tournaments or the recent ones, which player has amazed you in the fact that they've won the tournament?
Amazed that they won the tournament.
Or just an amazing shot. I know Kuchar's sand shot was an incredible shot. Well,
there's the ones that I've seen, the ones that I haven't seen. I was standing yesterday behind the bleachers when Billy Horschel holed out from his drop to have a 3-on-17.
Wow.
But knowing your friend, my friend, our neighbor here, Davis loves chip in on 18. I was standing right there when it happened, and he pointed to Mark, and that's pretty special to me.
Yeah.
And I look at that. Davis's first win on the PGA Tour was my first tournament, and that was in 1987. It was 35 years ago, and
that's cool.
So it's been a little. I don't talk years anymore. It's been a little over 30 pounds, but that's another story. But
we don't want to talk about the
I don't want to be around. I don't want to be around another 30 pounds, but hopefully I'll still be around a few more years. And,
all right.
But Steve, I appreciate your support, and thank you.
Always. Steve, thank you for being with us. Get back to your great tournament and tell Angela hey, and
absolutely.
I know you'll have another great one. Thank you.
Rich, thanks for all you do and all your support, anything we could ever do. So
always
stay safe.
All right. You too. Steve Wilmot, tournament director for many years at the RBC Heritage up at Hilton Head at the Harbor Town at Sea Pines. Just a great tournament, great players, great staff. And Steve's just got a great team that he works with. And our team is here saying thank you for being with us today. Hope you have a great weekend. Tune us in every Saturday and Sunday from 8 to 9 on ESPN Coastal and all those other social media outlets.